Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today, I'm very happy to bring on my Canadian panel with Nina the Mystic, Joan Widen, Phil Warder, and Tyler Scott. But before we start, I'll just tell you a little bit about them. Nina the Mystic hosts a very successful YouTube channel called Nina the Mystic Truther. Nina makes YouTube videos and offers private sessions for those who seek spiritual advice and guidance. Joan Widen hosts the popular podcast called Journey with Joan and works as an intuitive life coach, Reiki master teacher, pranic and crystal healer, feng shui consultant, house office clearing specialist, and she performs mediumship. Joan is able to help you connect with past loved ones and clear energy blocks to help you move forward with purpose so you can achieve what you want out of life. Phil Warder is the host producer of the trendy Unexplained Inc. podcast since 2020. He holds certification in core shamanism, Yusui Reiki, and spiritually based hypnosis. He recently began a practice out of the Lavender Lane Wellness Center in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, where he accepts bookings for Reiki, spiritual hypnotherapy, and will soon be running drum circles as well. Tyler Scott is the owner of the Lost Channel CE5 Research Center and is the distinguished host of the Copernicus show. Tyler believes that the biggest challenge anyone in this field faces is shifting human perspectives of reality from Newtonian physics to the quantum. Tyler hosts CE5 events and is working on an investigative series in quantum reality. Today, we're here as Canadians discussing ways that we cope with the shifting sands of politics, economics, and culture. All of the links are featured below in the description, and I encourage you to check me out, subscribe to my channels, leave me a comment, like my videos, and share my content with your friends. And I'm also happy to announce that you can now join my YouTube channel, take advantage of my perks, and help to support my show. So let's bring everybody on. Here's Tyler, Joan,
Hi, Karen.
Nina, and Phil. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you could make it. And I want to give each of you a chance to add anything that I missed in your introduction. Is there anything you want to share?
I think I'm good.
You do it so well, Karen. You're better than I could.
Yep.
Well, I tried to keep it sort of short because there's four of you,
got it.
and and you're all doing wonderful, wonderful things. And I'm so happy to have gotten to know you. I've been on your shows, you've been on my shows, we've become friends. And of course, we're mighty Canadians, which doesn't make us better, but it makes us tough as nails. And as I was saying before we came online, I don't want to be too crude, but the situation in Canada is a real shit show. I'm just going to say it. It's a shit show. Politically, economically, culturally, every single way. And literally people are going nuts under the pressure. But we're not, because we know how to take good care of ourselves. So I thought, let me just check the comments and see who's here. Denise. Hi, Denise. Nice to see you. And let's see, who else do we have? We've got, Tony Ann. Nice to see you, Tony Ann. And I'll keep an eye if you folks have any in the live chat, have any comments or questions. So who wants to start us off with giving us, for those who are not Canadian or not familiar with the situation in Canada, who wants to give a little kind of synopsis on their take on what's happening here in Canada?
I'll start at the bottom. So
Okay.
we in Canada have been told that reality is a physical, real structure,
Mhm.
and that everything is a physical, real thing. But we're learning, or we've learned a while ago, long time ago now, that when we zoom in on the things that we think are real, they're made of things that cannot be considered real. And when we're putting all the pieces together, we're really finding out that we are in some kind of virtual simulation reality. I'm getting a lot of feedback on my end. Are you guys hearing that?
I'm wondering if you want to go into settings and just make sure you've got your noise cancellation box ticked so it cancels. Or if you have another tab open with the live playing on YouTube or Rumble or something,
No, I just
you
got it
need
on my
you need
phone.
to mute those. Yeah, to keep it from coming back. But while he's checking that out, I'll just reiterate what he said. Basically, he said that we're told that the 3D is, a solid thing, and this is how it is, and we're told what that looks like and how we should react to it, when in reality, when you look at it from a quantum physics perspective, the reality is that nothing is actually real. It's energy and frequency, and those are combined in specific ways. I was just doing a quick recap of what you said in case there was anyone who missed it. So
Is that any better?
please. Yeah, actually, I think it is better.
Okay. Yeah. So as a society, we've all entered into this agreement. Things are a certain way, and we're finding out that they're not the way we've been told, and that we're in some kind of crazy interdimensional virtual reality system wherein beings can come from another version of reality back to here. And the foundation of our agreement in this civilization, you can consider false pretense, which is a scam in law.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the very bottom. And everything built on top of that, you have to consider under false pretenses as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is why we're in such a pickle right now, because this process is just snowballed into the point we're at now, where there's some kind of illegal black military with ET death lasers and raining chemtrails on it. It's just absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was saying to the panelists, actually, before we went live, I'll just give you a brief, well, I'll try to keep it brief, synopsis on my take on it all. And I think that there are maybe less, a handful of families who actually have all the power and control over the three-dimensional plane of existence. And I think they use the world leaders and oligarchs and stuff like chess pieces on a chessboard, and they get a great kick out of manipulating events and um, keeping us in confusion. And I also think that's overlaid with a disaster cycle that hits our perceived planet maybe every 300 or 400 years. And they know about that, but they don't let us know about it. And so they just run amok for 300, 400 years as experimental, and then there's a reset when this natural disaster comes. And we've seen evidence of that through the mud flood. So, originally people thought, oh, there was only one civilization under the mud floods. No, there is stacks and layers of civilizations that have run for 300 to 400 years, and then a natural disaster takes them out. So that's sort of my take. So that's sort of for me, a macro three-dimensional synopsis on what I think is going on. And Tyler, you gave the micro or the smallest or the quantum synopsis on what's going on. And I'm just wondering if Joan or Phil or Nina, do you have anything in the in-between or even above or below that you want to add?
I have something right in the in-between, actually, and I'm taking it into an area where I don't normally go with my discussions or my show, but I think it's a very important foundation is those that perceive to be in charge, like both Tyler and Karen have said, they don't want us to know the true nature of reality. Well, here's a perfect example of this. I have to shatter some myths and misconceptions for people who may not already be in the know, and I don't think I'm worried about anybody currently tuning into us right now. But Canada, unfortunately, is not an independent sovereign nation. We are a colonial offset of the crown, of the British, the City of London, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And whatever that King Charles declares for us, says for us, it will still affect us, unfortunately, in one way or another. Now, how we respond to that is a whole other story. But if you want to get into what's really going on, I think you trace all the way back to the crown and you trace their tentacles into the WEF and all these nefarious organizations. And then I think from there, that's where you really start to make sense of what's really going on around here.
And-
Yep, I think, sorry, I just wanted to quickly add, the other thing is all the Native or Aboriginal people here in Canada are not actually Canadian citizens. They're technically owned by the king. They're owned. Like, that's another rabbit hole. Go ahead, Joan.
So the one thing that I've noticed on the energetic level really is people are waking up. They're starting to see that there are holes in the narrative that we are being told every day. And so now everyone is going, well, how does this work? And why does it work? And do I have to abide by this? Right? They tried it 5 years ago. And, that kind of helped instill fear. And even to this day, that more people are in fear again. They're going into that rabbit hole of feeling trapped, feeling like they can't do anything. And in my perspective, right? Like, so I've had people ask me, when is the next battle? I'll be careful with words for our lovely channel here. So, so when is the next battle? And they actually wanted me to give them dates. And I'm like, we're not supposed to focus on that, right?
Mhm.
Like it's really right here, right now, and allowing ourselves to slowly change the world by yourself, like not by yourself, but as a collective. But it takes you to change your own universe around you to help steamroll everything so it starts spreading. Does that make sense? Because really it starts with ourselves, and then once we start to really realize that we do have a say, and it's different, it may not necessarily be a loud vocal one. It could be an energetic one where you're meditating or you're pushing out different vibrations into the world so that you can help the collective. But that's my perspective on things, right? Like, and so on the energy side of things, it starts with us. It starts with us, really.
Nina, what are your thoughts on what's going on?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everybody here. It seems like everybody is waking up to, what's going on. And, so that's, with this whole 2020 situation here, that's one thing that was something good that came out of that whole situation, is that people are starting to wake up now. And, yeah, I feel like we're like, as Canadians, we're like walking on eggshells, like between the US, basically saying that they're going to take over. And it's just like, what is going on? Like, what's coming? You know, we can feel something big is coming around the corner. Exactly what they're planning, we don't exactly know for sure. But yeah, I feel like we're on eggshells here. You know, like it's not a nice thing to be in. You know, it's not a nice feeling. You know, and then also there was this documentary that came out, and I can't remember what it was called or what channel it was, but basically telling us that Canada, yeah, it's not what we think it is. We are actually wide open. There was things that didn't happen back with Queen E and whatever it was, and something wasn't signed or something rather. And I'm like, oh my God. So if this is out there, that means that everybody knows, which means the US knows. Does this mean that Trump has a Trump card over Canada now that he can use against us? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a very unnerving feeling.
Mhm.
The only time the king comes to Canada is to sign paperwork. What is he signing?
Right. Which
So
makes
then
you
what
wonder.
did the king just sign if he was just here?
Yeah. Yeah, he was just here. So what actually went on? Why did he come here? What happened there?
He read a speech that was pre-written by the new Liberal government, a speech writer, and it was approved by the Liberal government, and he just read it. So he took a plane
Right.
out here, he just read it, and then he went back. And it was supposed to make, I'm guessing, the boomers think, oh, see, you know,
Yeah.
we've got England behind us and this and that. But guys, another thing I wanted to say is remember I talked a few minutes ago about how I think there's just a handful of these very powerful families that are using everything as chess pieces, and they're playing their stupid games. Well, I actually, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I know. I was going to say they are not members of any nation. The nations are created to give us the illusion, and they just go wherever they want. They got passports to every country. They don't even need passports to every country. They just come and go as they want, or they see fit. You know, the bankers and they call them banksters, and all of those guys, that they don't even have a country. So it's all, in my opinion, an illusion and smoke and mirrors. And I think the bigger thing that's coming, if I don't let myself get too caught up in either, well, I don't watch mainstream news, but the old media news, even if I don't get too caught up in it, I start to be in touch with how my body is sensing reality, and how when I go out into nature, how I'm feeling and how I'm connected to that. And I actually, you know, I'm someone who's been around the conspiratorium for a long time. I used to do a lot of research into Nibiru and the blue Kashina and the red Kashina and all of that. But if you take just the information about the pole shifts, you take the information about Apophis and other asteroids or whatever that are coming real close to the planet, if you take into consideration the solar minimum and the sun cycles, like on and on and on and on it goes, I think that we might be in for a planetary shift. And so what can I do to prepare for that? That's kind of where I'm trying to keep my focus and take care of myself so that I can respond as well as possible. I don't know. Does that make sense to any of you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
so
sorry.
you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no, it does seem like we do go through these cycles, and you know, we can go back and find evidence of different things, and it seems like we're probably on the verge of another one here. And as far as we know, the elites have spent billions of dollars on underground bunkers.
Yes.
And whatnot, so they know what's up, they know what to do, and I do believe this is how we survived before, is by going underground somehow. So that's kind of what we have to do. But realistically, for us regular people, like, where are we going to go? So, there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We're trying to make friends
Start digging
in shit to come together, because this place is great. I just spoke in Toronto at the Sasquatch Bigfoot Will Heal Us conference, and I was giving a presentation on reality. And one of the things I really wanted to try and hammer home was that quantum physics is telling us basically that thought precedes form. The speed of thought is faster than the speed of light. The speed of light is not really a barrier, it's just a transition. And once you get past the speed of light, then you go into another dimension, essentially. But there's people with awareness of this and how this place works from a multi-dimensional perspective. And this is why we don't have any real free media in Canada. It's all programmed. What we believe is what we will experience. So these laws of manifestation and everyone that know our real thing in their own life apply to us collectively as well. So when we turn on the news saying we're going to war, this is terrible, you must be locked indoors or you're going to die, then that's the reality we experience. Think of the Simpsons. I don't think it's so much that they've predicted reality as much as it is that they're programming. If you tell billions of people in the richest countries in the world that the way it's going to be a certain way, then that's the reality that they perceive. And this is that Illuminati stuff that we're not supposed to talk about.
I'd like to add something right there onto that. That was very well said. I have some people, like, say, on my social media feed who don't follow mainstream. They're very compassionate, intelligent, and they know what's up. But yet it seems like almost every time I log on to check something, they're just screaming and triggered about the current political situation. And just to dig a little bit deeper into what Tyler just said there, I almost think that if there is some, what did we say, battle or calamity that's coming up, I feel like the people that are screaming into that, they're going to be affected first or affected the hardest, because in a way they're creating their own program by having this reaction to what's out there. Whereas an individual like myself, and I'm not preaching indifference by any means, but say I'm a little bit more detached from this. So I feel like it just doesn't affect me as much. And it's not where I'm harvesting my energy and giving my power away.
How did you get to a point where you can detach from it? Were you always like this? Is this a process you learned?
Well, the short version of that answer is I think it's just the more I got connected to spirit and the non-physical, I started to realize that I can live and cultivate a life where I'm not nearly as affected by this. And there's levels that go into that, but that's like the short form answer for that I'd like to share right now.
Gotcha.
Joan, did you have a thought you wanted to?
Yeah, I would like to expand on what Phil said, like, because really, if we stay right here, right in the present, even watching the news, that's old news. That's in the past. So that's no longer. And if we want to talk about manifesting and all that as well, so if, like, we're talking about the programming that allows people, as soon as they have that deep emotional feel about it and they believe that it is true to the core, what happens to is it does manifest, because how you manifest and how things in life every day happen are based on our emotions and based on the feelings through the heart. And once the heart is full of that and you can feel it and you sense it and you see it, boom, it just manifests. It's just there. So I am like Phil, where I detach, and I do hear things every once in a while, but I have completely, literally, I hardly go on social media anymore, just because, and it's not me just putting my head in the sand. It's just that energy out there is not something that I subscribe to, right? And so my subscription is of the nothingness, but at the same time of the everything. So all the of the whole possibilities of what can happen. And the more of us, if we can go into that of the nothingness, but also the everything, we can make a huge impact around the world and with people around us, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just like to detach, and I hear some stuff. I laugh at some of the things because you kind of go, okay, interesting. Right. And also Canada is such a vast country, right? There's, I don't know what our population is. What is it, 40 million or just under? Something like that, right? Which is all of what, New York City?
Yeah.
Spread throughout all of this
Yeah.
great
It's a huge country.
Yeah.
It's huge when you take a, well, it depends on the map you're looking at, but seriously, it's massive. You know, we could be doing better, and we could be using things like 0 point energy and different kinds of technologies to make the inhospitable regions hospitable. Literally, if we wanted to get some amazing new concepts for even housing, we can live where it's cold, we can live where it's hot, we can live on the water, we can live in the air. Like, there are so many options. This idea that we're overpopulated is really quite ridiculous. So I wanted to add to that. Sorry, go ahead.
I say, especially for us, the idea that Canada is an independent thing operating by itself is just nonsense. It's exactly what you're saying. Look at the land to people here and how much money we make and how much resources we can. Everyone here should be rich already, and that's just not the case because there's very clearly a global control paradigm keeping this at an even pace.
Mm-hmm. Nina, you've been kind of quiet over there in the corner. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, you know, we do have a large country here and a lot of land that's not being used, you know, and that's one thing that, you know, Canada has. We have a lot of resources here. You know, we don't really need anyone else, to be honest. Like, we got our own oil, we got all our, you know, all the things. And so, yeah, like I said, you know, it's not a good feeling, you know, knowing that our big brother next door is eyeing us up, wanting our land and our resources. Essentially is what he wants, you know. And then of course he wants Greenland, which is right next. And you know, and from that point of view, I guess from a military point of view, I guess that would be a good thing, because you know, we're kind of wide open there with Greenland. You know, Denmark's not really doing much over there and whatever. So I mean, I get it to an extent, but at the same time, you know, like we don't really need anybody. Like, you know, keep our own oil, refine it here. We got lots of space where we could put up, where we can refine our own oil. We don't need to be, you know, barging it overseas and then accidentally spill it in there and creating all these, you know, disasters and whatnot. Just keep our own stuff and we'll just take care of ourselves, you know, like, what do I know?
No, I think you're right on. I mean, I feel in a way lucky to be in Alberta, and it was weird because I'm also from the Lower Mainland, Vancouver area, and Vancouver Island, and I just got the call, the spiritual call, very strong to move to Alberta, that I needed to move to Alberta, and not really even sure why, but I've been able to do things since I moved here that I couldn't do before, and but now the way the politics is unfolding, I feel a little bit protected, but again, I think it's all an illusion. And, you know, I used to get caught up in trying to prep. So, you know, make sure I had propane stove and propane and food. And, after a while I gave up and I said to my guides, I said, this is ridiculous. I said, I can't afford, and I got nowhere to put the food. And people are getting all this dehydrated food and they don't realize how much water you need to reconstitute it. And one of the first things that goes is the water. And I just got so overwhelmed. And I said to my guides, what do I do? And this is cute. My guide said, Karen, if you want to have a couple of months worth or a couple of weeks worth, that's fine. Put your mind at ease and then forget about it. Just forget about it. Don't worry about that anymore. And I was so relieved. So I'm just wondering, what are you guys doing besides, I'm assuming, looking after your health? Because if I'm unable to get from the couch to the car and back, how the heck am I going to deal with what's coming, which we don't know, because none of us really knows what's coming. I may need to walk for a couple of miles to get fresh water. I don't know. I'm not saying, but might, right? I need to take care of my body so that my body is going to take care of me. So that was one thing that I felt very strongly, and I keep working towards that. And also, I'm careful what I eat. Now, I don't think everyone eats the same things, but I think we all could agree on real food is really an important place to start, and trying to get the chemicals out, right? And then all of these things will support our immune system, so we're more likely to survive. But I know one thing, after, like what Nina, I think, was saying earlier, after what happened, I guess is 4 or 5 years ago now, I don't believe anything they tell me. If they were going to lie about that to that extent, what else are they going to lie about? So it means staying in touch with my own sense of reality and knowledge and my own spirit guides. I hope that doesn't sound too woo-woo, but that's sort of
Can I
how I
add
came to it.
something to yours?
Please do.
Okay, so now if we really think about it, Canadians are naturally already doing this, right? Everyone's deciding we can take care of ourselves, which is awesome. But it's also transferring to all the grocery stores, and it's transferring to everything around us, right? So now we're going to be eating more foods that are indigenous to our native to our land, which is even better, right? Because once we start feeding ourselves from our land, like the fruits of our labor from our land, we won't need anyone else. Do you know what I mean? Because we can sustain ourselves and our bodies properly, and also probably heal our bodies much better because we're eating the land, like the fruit from our land, and in the right seasons instead of having it all year round, right? So, so then we can gain weight at the appropriate times. We can decrease weight at the appropriate times. Like there's all these things that come into play that are normal life cycles for a human, and especially where you live, right? So we have, technically 4 seasons. In Alberta, we have 2.
Yeah, more like 2.
More like 2, right? And so
6 months of this and 6 months of that. Yeah.
Right? Well, you have like that you have the transition. I don't even call it really a season, but those are like little things that people are naturally gravitating to, right? I was just recently made aware of what potash actually is, and I guess it's a type of salt, which I never knew. And it's mined a lot in Saskatchewan. And they use it, I believe, for heating as well. I didn't dive deep into it. I was just amazed of what you could use it for, So again, like, people are naturally saying, no, thank you, US, right? Thank you for all your stuff, even the fruit, the vegetables, everything. People are naturally selecting things that are not like that are not US or you know, they're going all Canadian, which again makes sense, and it will help elevate the energy and the vibration of Canada at this time.
The only problem with that is what I've seen here is that is mainly affecting the poor people.
Yes.
If you, yeah, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the food bank, but you know, a lot of seniors, disability people, and actually a majority of the immigrants who are coming in are all lining up at the food bank, relying on that produce. And now there's no more produce for them because they've now cut the US. So they're not getting all that abundance of produce that was mainly going to the waste and then giving it to the poor. So now there is no more for the poor. So it, you know, and this is what happens in society. The low-hanging fruit is the one that's going to get affected first. And that's what's happening right now, that our poor people in this country are no longer getting any fresh fruits and veggies.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But I agree with everything you just said. I mean, we you know, there's pros and cons to all of this, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
You can see it on the streets here in Barrie. I've policed this area for 13 years. I've lived here my whole life. There's never been more homeless people. There's never been more addicts walking around. It's in really rough shape.
Yes, it's bad with the drugs. And now I've noticed seniors are getting assaulted everywhere. We had a guy right here in my town, baseball bat. There was a lady in Ontario, 80 years old, gardening outside her house, stabbed to death. You know, and these people are, you know, doing it, and it's like, you know, what are we going to do about this? Like, this needs to be cleaned up. You know,
if we can circle back to it, how it all being a big illusion, that's not really even theoretical anymore. We've proven to the U.S. Congress that the earth-changing free energy, anti-grav, frequency technologies to dig tunnels underground and heal anything went wrong with your body, it all exists, and it's been suppressed for a very long time. We have a global control paradigm that has limited our technology by design and intent, and a choice that has been made that can be profiled as being sociopathic because it's led to the demise of billions of people. And this is what's going on in our court system in the U.S. right now, and it's the foundation of why everything is so crazy, and we're literally going to shift from a Newtonian perspective of reality into a quantum Aquarius age perception of reality. And that is shifting from our interpretation of Earth as a real physical thing as to understanding it is just a frequency in an endless sea of different frequencies of reality. And this is why there's been trillions of dollars spent for UFO, UAP suppression, is because it leads to these understandings of reality as a holographic structure, and why we're not getting the 0 point. Because to understand how 0 point works, you kind of have to understand how reality works as a virtual structure. But once we get that thing, that's it. It's game over. We don't need anything else. It's 75% of everything every Canadian spends is on gas, coal, and oil. You buy an apple, you're not paying for an apple. You're paying for the delivery of it. You're paying for the guy growing it, his expenses, gas, coal, and oil. Everything goes to these outdated, antiquated energy tycoons that own us. We've got 20 minutes. We haven't even started talking about the coping part. What are some strategies we're using to, now that we understand how absolutely crazy this place is? What are you guys doing to get through the day?
Well, I wanted to just acknowledge a few people in the live chat. We've got Denise, we've got Van Darkholm, we've got Grateful Heart, Tony Ann, and did I already say Denise? And they've given some good suggestions. Denise has said she only has a little patio, but she can still grow vegetables there. So the one thing that I have tried, of course, failed miserably at, is having a home garden. And but I have all the seeds and everything, and I'd like to give it another try. So there's that. The other thing is, and this is a touchy subject, but you know, if the shit hits the fan, in 3 days, your neighbors are going to come knocking on your door looking for food or water or something like that. In 3 weeks, they're going to be even more desperate. And by 3 months, they're going to go completely rogue wild. So, what do we do to protect ourselves? What do we do? Like, the best I could do, I know this is going to sound funny, but I went and bought a couple of um, pellet guns that shoot the metal pellets. And it's just almost the speed of it being an actual, rifle or gun, but just under, so that I can have it legally. But I haven't really found a place to go practice. But I don't really want to resort to that. But I mean, that's one thing to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Another thing is, to have a first aid kit. Does everybody have a first aid kit? I know it's not something we think of very often, just put a Band-Aid on it, but you might need a first aid kit. I've got a little bit of food, not much, stored up. But then for me, it's water. What am I going to do for water? Because it's quite a ways that I'd have to haul water from the river. And then I'm not sure how clean it is. A lot of people don't realize all our toilets and our wastewater goes back into the same river we get our drinking water from. Yeah. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for, Tyler, but those are just a few suggestions I have. I'll turn it back over to the group.
Well, let me. If you're looking for protection, there, Karen, get a crossbow or something. You're just gonna piss whoever's coming off with you with that BB gun.
Crossbow, that's a good idea, but
You can get one of those.
I think you could even get that at Costco.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, for water, Karen, you could get these filter straws, right? You can buy them, and you just put it in the river and you take a sip out of it, and it's filtering the water right while you're drinking it.
It's called Life Straw. Yeah, I got a couple of those in my bug out bag.
Those are okay.
Getting a Berkey or something. If you're going to do shelter in place, you want to get a big water filter of some sort so that you can filter out whatever you got water coming in. But I'm kind of like Karen here. We've been awake for a while now and been doing the whole prepping thing for quite a while, and now I'm starting to get to that point, a different point in my life where I'm retired, and having that vehicle as a bug out vehicle, I mean, is it realistic at this point in my life? I'm looking at, getting rid of things as well. I want to downsize. I'm getting tired of having all these preps everywhere. And, it's like it's dragged out so long. It's almost like just get the show on the road so we can move on,
We just need to learn how to grow vegetables. That's it. The state is literally trying to get everyone away from being able to provide yourself. This is what these smart cities are. The less you have, the less capable you are of taking care of yourself. That's better for the state. That we used to, you couldn't buy seeds, you couldn't sell seeds before. You could only trade them, and then it was the big bad banker guys that came in and they changed all that. And this is how far back the plan's going. The plan's been going against the plan for a very long time. And nobody's able to take care of themselves anymore, especially in Canada, because you get half the year full of snow.
Yeah, well, the Liberal government kind of, have been, on the agenda of getting rid of all our protection, right? That's done deliberately.
They're doing everything they need to do to prepare for a cataclysmic event. They are seeking more power at every opportunity. They're trying to take their guns away. They are squashing dissent with emergency powers that could not have been used. They're doing everything in the draconian fascist playbook, and it's freaking crazy.
Yeah, no, first thing I did when 2020 hit was to go and get seeds. Every seed that I could think of that I would possibly, the food that I would want to eat, including marijuana seeds, of course.
Of course.
I can't go without that, of course. So I'm loaded up with seeds, but I'm not able to garden where I'm living. So I'm ready, and I also have a greenhouse I could set up somewhere, like a plastic one. You know, I got all the stuff. I just don't have anywhere to do it. But, you know, so I'm assuming that my kids are probably going to benefit from the stuff that I have. I don't know.
These are all great.
We don't know till the time is here and the events happen. We really don't know. But I do know. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Phil.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish. But I just wanted to say that's why it's so important for me to stay tuned into my spiritual guides and the other worlds, because there's a wealth of information, and I know stuff just before it happens. You know, I just know stuff, and this is like an incredible comfort for me. Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, no, you actually just made me, you trigger kind of a funny memory for me, is that when the province of Ontario went through 3 different lockdowns in that, you know, that 2-year span or whatever, every time before they announced it, I got this funny feeling in like where my heart and solar plexus chakra connected. And I was overdue for a haircut. So it was like my hair was just a mess, and I got this feeling in my solar plexus, and I was like, oh, something crazy's coming again. And then it did. So I was tapped into my intuition, and I was able to at least temporarily adjust accordingly. So I love a lot of what I'm hearing, and I'm in the same boat as Nina, where I don't have a setup for gardening. But one thing I have been able to do, and I didn't even plan this, like I just flowed into it, is that I've gotten to know a lot more people, a lot more genuine connections over the years of people who do grow their own food, like all year round, or try to anyway, or people who are connected to the locals farmers markets. And I just want to say one thing, like, so I turned 43 late in the summer, and my entire life I've lived within like a 2-hour radius of Toronto, and I don't go there as much as I used to. I shy away from the bigger cities more than I used to, and I do spend more time out in the rural areas. And there are some promising signs of a lot of independent markets, independent produce growers and all that, because as we all know, the government's in elbow deep with these companies to buy up farmland, which could cause problems. But I think the way to fight against that is to build communities of people who can grow and sell their own things. And I think there's more and more of that the more we see. I've even been to a couple of restaurants here in my city where they only cook with locally grown ingredients. And I think we're going to see more of that as well. So I guess my biggest coping mechanism in the time we have left here is to find like-minded community, whether it's in person or it's on social media. And some of those people can take you to the off the beaten path social media where the censorship isn't as bad. And you connect with each other, you learn from each other, and you learn to love from one another. And I think the more people that are in tune with that frequency, the less chaos there might be on a grand scale if things do go wrong. And I just want to end on this quick note here. I've got nothing wrong against prepping. I don't hate on the preppers whatsoever. People are going to do what you got to do. But if you're constantly advertising in public how often you prep, what you prep, like, aren't people who are in a bit of a chaotic state going to come to you first? And are you actually really making yourself safer by advertising it? I'm not against doing it. It's just there could be a degree of oversharing. You may want to put the brakes on.
I've got a neighbor who's a Mormon, and she lives across the street. She's Mormon, and I said to her, what are you going to do if there really is, because they have, I think, 2 years worth of food stashed away. I said, come the war or whatever, I said, how are you gonna protect your food, And she says, I don't know. She's an old lady and her husband's an old man, and they have no idea how they're gonna. Well, I guess they think God's gonna protect them. And I didn't mean to open up a can of worms by saying that.
Well, that's my Yeah, that's me too. It's like I have, obviously no guns here. We're not allowed to have guns. We don't have nothing to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
And yeah, all the neighbors are going to be hungry. Everybody else, yeah, and everybody that knows that I'm being prepped, and I'm kind of come to that that I'm probably going to get run over. That's I'm single here, a woman. Yeah, I'm not going to fare too well in that situation. So just be mentally and spiritually prepared for that. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like if you're ready, then no worries, but
Well, that reminds me of the final question I have for the panel, and that is, for me, a large part of getting myself ready for whatever may come is to not be afraid of death, to question my fears around death, because I personally, and based on what I've experienced, that the actual three-dimensional reality is a very short trip here, and there's so much more and so much better. Like, I really think those of us even on the panel and in the chat, we came here to help correct the timeline and to do stuff, and we probably didn't even have to come back. It's not like we're NPCs or anything. And so I think that's another really important thing, is to get that sorted out. And often I'll ask myself, if my life was going to end in a month, what would I do differently? And then I sort of adjust my life, right? So that I'm enjoying my life and it's purposeful again. And so I just wanted to put that out to the panel. I know you have to go soon, Tyler. Did you want to speak to that first?
No, I agree with everything you said there. I just want to iterate. We are talking about these things, and it's okay to talk about these things, but we really have to remember that we shouldn't be dwelling on any of this stuff, because my main point is we are a co-created reality, and let's just collectively think and positive things and hope for the best. And this is playing out a million different times in a million different universes. Hopefully, we're in a really good version of it.
Mhm.
So, as you said, so really death shouldn't be feared anyways, because really once we die, we're free of this body, and this body really kind of weighs us down more than what we are capable of doing, right? And the one thing that I like to really hammer home to people is that we are not this body. We're a soul that operates this body, and we get to witness everything that this body gets to be a part of, but it is still not us. You know what I mean? And so the biggest thing is to deal with all your fears and your judgments and shame that you have from this world here in this 3D, right? And know that, again, it's the limitless, the boundless, right, possibilities that can come when you let go of all those things, right? Because our body and our heart have to be aligned in order for our soul to really be able to shine. And that's the one really big thing. And I live out in the country, so that is how I'm coping. There's a lot of I have trees and I can go ground, and grounding is a huge thing. I actually had seen something on Instagram where I thought, oh, I'm going to try that. And so I went out and I stood under a tree and I asked the tree to touch my face, right? There's no wind. And the tree actually touched my face. So I was like, well, this is really fun. So then, you have so much time, like so much grounding that you can, connecting with the earth, being outside as much as you can, honoring everything, right? Like we said prior to like going live, I honored an owl and I gave it a proper burial, right? Those are little things, and they're little, but they're also big things in the spiritual world, or we honor the life that was given, right? So yeah, it's really about honoring yourself and loving you enough to be able to understand you and let go of any sort of reality that you have, your perception is of it, because it can always change, and there's boundless opportunities of whatever that you can have.
Mhm.
Well said. Well, I have to bounce, Karen. No, nice meeting
Okay.
everyone.
Okay,
Bill,
thank
if
you
you're
so much
local,
for
man,
joining
get
us.
in touch.
For sure.
Take care.
All right, guys. Take care. Cheers.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, Tyler.
So I was going to
Um,
say, you know, like
yeah.
being in the you got to be in the balance of it, you know, like prep whatever it is that you can do as far as prepping goes, and then have your affairs in order, right? And then that way you can relax. All right, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You know what I mean? And just enjoy our lives. You know, enjoy your family, get out there, nature, connect, all that sort of stuff, right? And not worry too much. So is it being in the balance there of, you know, being prepared, but also enjoying life? You know, that's kind of the trick there.
Mm-hmm. Phantom Phil, what are your thoughts?
I pretty much echo everything that has been said here. And like I said before, all that too, building community. One more thing I would like to add, though, is, and Joanne, I love the grounding aspect of it. It's very important and very overlooked. You
Mhm.
can also, because we've talked about kind of what we're doing for ourselves, think about what we could do for others. If we could be a grounding, calm, stable force for others, that energy is going to amplify and it's going to go a long way.
Right.
So
Yes.
that's what I'd like to add.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Because
Wow.
when you take care of you and you start doing it, your energy, it just naturally expands. Does that make sense? And
Mhm.
it naturally progresses bigger, where you become that stable for someone else, or you become that, I don't even like to say it, like the guru, if you will, which I always say, when a guru, it's not really you're a guru. It's like, if you know how it's spelled, it's G U R U, right?
Yeah.
It's
And
awesome.
so then you have to know that you are your own guru, but you can pump people up so that they can
Always.
be their own, right?
Yep.
And so that's the best.
Yep. Can you tell who the energy healers are, the energy workers are in this discussion?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. Yeah, actually, I've been spending, about 4 or 5 months. My daughter and her husband, and they have twin little girls, and they get sick a lot. And I've been practicing sending healing energy. And my daughter reports back that it really helps a lot. So that's another thing we can do to prepare, is sending out that healing energy to each other and to ourselves too. We don't want to forget self-care is really important. Guys, I've really enjoyed this discussion, but we're pretty much out of time. I want to do a final go round. I want you to tell the audience what you offer or what you've got going on, and certainly where people can find you. Of course, the links will be in the description below, but still, it's nice to hear it. And for those that are on audio, it's nice to hear it as well. So, Joan, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So I have my own podcast every Friday at 7 p.m. Mountain, so 6 p.m. Pacific, not specific, Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's called Journey with Joan on the Bold Brave TV network. I also have my own YouTube channel, which, I'm getting better at that. I have to get better. And that's at Clairvoyant Medium Joan Widen. And on Instagram, it's at Journey with Joan Widen. And what I do is I do healings, I do readings, I also connect people with loved ones, and I also offer some intuitive life coaching as well. And if you go to my website, www.joanwiden.com, you can reach me there.
Wonderful. Who wants to go next?
Phil, you go ahead.
Sure.
You're such a gentleman.
You
You are.
I am the host producer of the Unexplained Incorporated podcast. It is, as you see in the logo in the corner, where the unknown connects with the empowered. So we do a bit of paranormal, unexplained, and spirituality, and I've kind of meshed them all together. Been doing that since 2020. You could connect with me there at unexplainedinc.com. It has links to all my socials and every audio episode in the show's 5-year history. Halloween of 2024, I started incorporating video episodes as well. And to check those out, you go to rumble.com/unexplainedinc, one word. So there's a growing list of subscribers. Please subscribe, get that going. And I just want to say, I am also booking guests into August and September right now. And anybody who I've shared this panel with, including Tyler, who had to leave, you're welcome to hit me up and we can maybe schedule a time to have you on as a guest. Karen is like a 3 or 4 time guest at this point. I'm like starting to lose track. So yeah, that's all going on. And I just wanted to say before I wrap that I have some really cool shows coming up with cool guests and some solo episodes. And we're digging into themes like the sketchy origins of the royal family, AI. And I got a woman coming on locally to me who's performing some healing modalities you may not have heard of or be familiar with. And I've experienced some of them firsthand. So that's coming up later in the summer. And yeah, just unexplainedinc.com is the best place to find me.
Wonderful. And Nina, you're a busy woman.
Yeah, so I got a YouTube channel, Nina the Mystic Truther. There's not that many subscribers yet because I lost my original channel, which was my bad because I did some copyright strikes there. But yeah, so my channel is basically a mix of the mystic and the truther stuff. So Wednesdays, I do my hump day message. It'll be tonight, 6 o'clock Pacific, where you can come in and get a free message from Spirit. And then on Sundays, I go live with a variety show, I will call it, a variety of topics, guests and whatnot. Although I tend to kind of, investigate more truth relating kind of whatever spirit leads me to, I guess you could say. So my channel is kind of confusing because there is 2 different type of content on it. So I know that's not the greatest for the YouTube algorithms, but essentially I'm just doing it for myself anyways. It's kind of nice to get your voice out there recorded so that future generations can listen later, because Lord knows they don't listen now. So, right? Yeah, so that's basically it. You can follow me on Instagram. It'll be Nina the Mystic 68. Same with Facebook, Nina the Mystic 68, Nina the Mystic Truther on YouTube, and then I got Rumble and all these other things. So you can find links for all of that under all my videos in the description of every video. So you can find me there. And I think Karen has quite a few of my links down below there. And if you don't know, I have some new merch called We Do Not Consent. This is a great thing to be wearing because, not always we want to approach the subjects of things, but just walking around with that, we do not consent. It's showing the world, showing the powers to be that we do not consent to what they're doing to us. So yeah, if you want to go and check out the merch, the link is down in the description there. I guess you'll find it down there. Yeah, go and check that out.
Yeah, wonderful. So for those in the live chat, please do go and subscribe to my friends and to my friends. Yeah, this is a good networking opportunity too, to meet new people and think about having each other on our shows and supporting each other's work. I also want to let the audience know that I have a free giveaway at the end of June for everyone who can come to the live chat. Now, I know not everyone can make it, but for those of you who can drop in and leave a comment in the live chat, your name will go in for a bit of a free draw. And I'm putting together a kit of things like a coffee mug from my Aliens and Angels podcast, some orgonite, orgone generators, some stickers, different things like that. So the contest runs until the end of June. So everybody, you might want to come join me on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time for the Quantum Guide Show, or Sundays at noon Mountain Time for the Aliens and Angels podcast. And the only other thing I want to announce is a new show upcoming with the beautiful Joan Widen. We're working on developing a show that we're going to start doing together. It'll be quite informal, and we'll just get together, have some fun, chat. And I have no idea where it's going to go. I don't know. Joan, do you have anything you want to add to that? We'll let you all know, though, when it's coming.
It will be fun. It will be a huge learning thing for me, because between what I do and you do, we are similar, but at the same time, we are like at different ends at the same time. So it's pretty much a spiritual mashup of things. So we're going to look into things. We might debunk some stuff. We might go down some rabbit holes, and so my mind will be blown every time we do a podcast.
Mine too.
I think it will be great.
Yeah, I agree. So that's it for today. I want to thank everyone in the live chat. I want to thank everyone who's watching the replay. And of course, all of you out there who are listening on an audio platform. And I hope you have a great week, and sending you much love, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional: Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available in Amazon bookstores worldwide. Check out my website at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton, and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.